Our focus for today is going to be on building fluency with dividing whole numbers and unit fractions. So the learning track is going to be I can build fluency with the division algorithm by dividing with whole numbers and unit fractions. And so the first problem that we're going to take a look at is our solve and share, where it says the Brown family is planting 1/3 of their garden with flowers, a third with berries, and a third with vegetables. The vegetable section has equal parts of carrots, onions, peppers, and tomatoes. What fraction of the garden is planted with carrots? So if we take a look at this, so here's my first third, here's my second third, here's my third. So we're only looking at the vegetable garden. And so when we look at the vegetable part of the garden, that is going to be 1/3. And so if I take a look at 1/3, I'm going to be dividing that 1/3 by the different types of plants. And so I have carrots, onions, peppers, and tomatoes. So that means I'm planting 4 different types of plants. So my division equation is going to be 1/3 divided by 4. And visually, if I show this, what I would do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my whole, here's I'm going to take my whole garden and I'm going to divide it into 4 equal parts. And when I divide that into 4 equal parts, that will give me my new denominator. So if you look, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I end up with 12 as my denominator. And then if I label, here I have carrots, here I have peppers, I have onions, and I have tomatoes, while only taking one of them. So it's going to be 1/12. If I do this with the keep change flip, remember that 1/3 stays at 1/3, and then I'm going to multiply this by, remember I write the 4 over 1, so it's going to become 1/4, and then I just multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is equal to 1, 3 times 4 is equal to 12, and so then that will be where I find my answer is going to be 1/12. Okay, and then it says write an equation that models this problem. I'm going to look back, explain the reasoning. So here is my equation that models this problem. 1/3 divided by 4 equals 1/12. So 1/3 represents each part of the garden. And then the 4 represents the different parts of the garden that we planted. And then 1/12 represents the part of the garden that we did with carrots. And so if I rewrite this, I would do 1/3 divided by 4 equals 1/12. This represents the carrots. This represents the part of the garden. And then the 4 represents the types of plants. And so that would be how my equation would look. All right. So if we move into our visual learning for today, it says when we look at this, let me see. Interesting. Okay, there we go. I was like, A utility company is planning to install wind turbines on 4 square miles of land. Each turbine requires 1/6 square mile of land. How many turbines can be installed? So if we look at the modeling of the picture, I have 4 square miles. So if you look at the 4 square miles, so that's going to be our dividend. So if I write it as my division equation, I have 4 square miles. And each of those square miles is going to be divided into 1/6 for the turbines. And so I want to know how many turbines I can fit in that 4 square miles. So each of the 4 square miles is divided into 6 parts. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6, 12, 18, 24. So my answer here is going to be 24. If I look at it with a number line, I take my four holes, and I divide each of my 4 holes into 6 pieces, and then I would count how many I would have there. And so my total that I would have here would be 24. If I set this up doing the keep change flip, 4 stays the same, right? That's my keep. The division becomes multiplication, and then I flip the 6 over 1, so it becomes 6 over 1, which is equal to 4 times 6, and that's how I get 24. So again, that keep change flip is another way that's the algorithm way to do it, but the models show me visually why that works the way that it works. All right. Use an area model to find 2 divided by 1 4, then use multiplication to check your answer. And so we're going to go ahead and draw that area model. And so I'm going to draw 2 shapes, and with those 2 shapes, I'm going to divide them into 4 pieces. And when I divide them into 4 pieces, I'm going to look at what my total is going to be. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 2 divided by 1/4 is going to be equal to 8. Here's how it looks, right? So I'm checking it with multiplication. Here's my keep. There's my change. There's my flip. And so I can write it as 2 times 4, and I end up with 8. Alrighty. So if we go through and we look at our next page, we look at our another example. It says use a number line to find 1/4 divided by 6. And so if we look at our number line, here's my 1/4, and I've taken it and I've divided it into 6 pieces. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so I would have to do that for the whole number line. So I would have here, I would have 6. Here, let me just go ahead and get my color up. I would have another 6. I would have another 6 here, and I would have another 6 here for a total of 24. But I'm only looking at taking one of those lines. So it would be 1/4 divided by 6 is going to equal 24. Or keep, change, flip, and I end up with 1/24. Okay, and then to check my answer, I could do 1/24 times 6. And when I did 1/24 times 6, I would get 1/4. So moving into your guided practice, it says when you divide a whole number by a fraction less than 1, will your quotient be greater than or less than the whole number? So because my fraction is less than 1, I will have more parts. So my quotient is going to be greater than. Remember that yesterday when we looked at our lesson, we talked about when I'm dividing by a whole number, my quotient is going to be less than the original fraction. Here, because I'm dividing a whole number by a fraction less than 1, my answer is going to be greater than. All right. So if we take a look here, 4 square miles of land is separated into sections that each have an area of a half square mile. How many sections are there? So I'm going to do 4 divided by 1/2. So visually what this would look like is I would just take my 4 and I would divide it into half. And then I look at how many pieces total I have. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8 pieces total. If I do this with the keep, change, flip, 4 stays the same. I change it to multiplication and it becomes 2/1. And I have just 4 times 2, which is going to be 8/1 or 8. All right, so we're going to find each quotient. You do not need to draw a number line or model unless it helps you. If you are feeling pretty confident with the keep, change, flip, then do the keep, change, flip. Otherwise, use that model. So if I did 2 divided by 1/4, I'm going to go ahead and just use the keep, change, flip to get that practice in for you. So I'm going to do 2 divided by 1/4. My keep is the 2. My change is the division symbol to multiplication. And my flip is going to be 4/1. And then I multiply and I end up with 8 as my answer. Okay. 1/6 divided by 2. I keep the 1/6, I change the division symbol to multiplication, and I go to 1/2. And now I'm going to multiply 1 times 1 is 1, 6 times 2 is going to be 12. So my answer here is going to be, 1/12, not 12, 1/12. All right, let me do my next one. So I have 3 divided by 1/4. Keep the 3, change the division symbol to multiplication, flip the 4/1, and I end up with 12 as my answer. 2 divided by 1/3 becomes 2 times 3/1, which equals 6. So again, using that keep, change, flip. All right, for your independent practice today, I'd like for you to go ahead and do all of 7 through 10. So you're going to do 7, 8, 9, 10. You can use the models or number lines to help you, but you can also use that algorithm. So you may use the algorithm if you need to. But again, if those models help you, use those models. Okay. All right. And then on your math practices and problem solving, I would like for you to, this one I do want you to complete the picture to show your solution. So I do want some practice with that modeling as well. So I would like for you to do problem number 11. I'd like for you to go ahead and do, actually, I'd just like for you to do the models. You're going to do 12, 13, 14, and 15. So today's practice, you're going to do 7 through 15 all.